Well, today's the time of year when people are moving from outdoor activities to indoor activities. And to prove that, the other day somebody said to me, I'm getting into woodworking. What's the most important thing I should know? And as I was answering that question, I was thinking of more things that I should tell them that are important to know. And I decided to make a video on this because there's a lot of people just getting into woodworking. There's also a lot of people that have been doing woodworking for a while that could still learn some of these simple lessons. So let's jump in. So in no particular order, I decided I'm going to start off with wood because this is woodworking, right? And the first message is the first important thing to do is to buy yourself some decent quality wood. Go to a lumber store, go to a mill, wherever it is, and buy some decent quality lumber. You can also harvest your own pallet wood. I'm going to talk about that in a moment. But when you get good quality wood, it means that you're going to put more effort into whatever your build is because you've spent a bit more money on some wood and you don't want to waste that wood. You want to get the best value from it. And all of that is what goes into doing quality woodworking. And to further emphasize this, one of my friends in YouTube woodworking, Dylan from Black Forest Wood, they make a lot of expensive river tables and doors, things like that. And he says in all of their working, the most expensive ingredient that he has is labor. And what he means by that is he doesn't want to invest a certain amount of money and the time it takes to build it when he hasn't picked out the best quality ingredients in order to put something together. Who wants to build something and find out later on that it's come loose or that it's not working properly because you didn't buy the proper quality wood in the first place? So buying good quality wood makes a difference in a number of ways. And here I have a piece of pallet wood that I've harvested a number of years ago now, and I keep it around, this and a couple of other ones, for similar things like this. Now, when I turned this one over, and I just noticed this one, in the back of this one, there's a little nail embedded, and I haven't seen this before. So this is very often false economy. Now look, if you're just making things for videos for YouTube, who cares? It may not be used for anything. It's just a project that you're making. But if you're making quality furniture or things that you want to use, this might not be the best choice. And here's a couple of reasons why. If you don't see an embedded nail in here and you happen to hit it with your table saw blade, now you've nicked a blade. Now you've just destroyed a $40, $50, $60 blade, all to get free lumber, which you had to go out and probably spend some number of hours picking up all sorts of different pallets to try and get enough wood out of them. When you come to jointing this on your jointer, a lot of people don't realize these things sit on the ground, on the pavement. They get rocks and dirt embedded in them. And when you joint and plane that, what happens is you end up nicking or sometimes even chipping your blades on your jointers, your planers. So now you've got little grooves running through, making the blades duller quicker. Pallet wood is not always the best choice, so you really need to think hard about that. The second most important thing when working with wood is understanding and knowing what the moisture content is of your wood. And we do that with something called moisture meters. And there are two kinds of moisture meters. There is a moisture meter that picks up the moisture directly from the board. They're flat on top. You can take it to your lumber store and just touch it to the wood and it will tell you what the moisture content is. There's also a pin type. These have a couple of pins in the bottom and you actually have to poke these into the wood and do some adjusting to see what the moisture level of the wood is. I prefer these because when you go to the lumber store, you don't have to ask if you can check the moisture of their wood. Whereas these, you definitely want to be asking them if there's a way you can check the moisture of the wood if you're doing that. Or when you get home, you can check your own moisture. And sometimes you'll find that the moisture is higher than what they're telling you in the store. And that's because wood takes on, it absorbs and releases moisture all the time. And when it does that, just like many other things, wood can expand as it draws moisture in, and it can contract as it expels moisture. So depending on the moisture content of the air, wood is always moving, and that's why it's important to know what the moisture content is, because if you're making things for indoor, we typically look for a moisture content of around 9 or 10% in most parts of the world. If it's very dry, it might go lower. If it's a very moist area, you might go higher, but those are specialties. So for most of us, around 9 or 10% is the target that we're looking for. And if it gets too high, if it's up like 14 or 15, by the time you bring that wood in and you build something with it, and now the wood shrinks, now your joints are not going to be fitting properly. So that's why it's important to have the right moisture content when you start off to make your project, especially things like your joints. You need to have at least one good quality steel square, and you won't pay a ton for these. Probably in the neighborhood of $15. They come in various sizes. I think this is a 6x9 or something, but it's dead accurate and it never moves. I also have some of these, and I found out the hard way that these this is an inexpensive tri-square, and this particular one, I think I paid 15 or 20 bucks for. It's not accurate, and I found that out the hard way when I finally went out and purchased a good quality steel square, and lo and behold, this had been creating all sorts of problems for me over the years, because I was thinking that my table saw was out, my jointer was out, this fence was out, the wood wasn't square, when all along it was my square. So do yourself a favor, get a good quality steel square so that you have a baseline of how square and accurate things are. By now you've got decent quality wood, you know the moisture content of it, and you've got a decent quality square. The next thing is to buy good quality blades for your table saws. If you have only one tool, it's probably a table saw, and you can do tons of furniture making with just a table saw, but you need to get a good quality blade, and you can buy general purpose blades that are good quality blades, and you will spend more for them, but don't judge a blade by the price. As a rule, more expensive blades are better, but I see unscrupulous people selling cheap stamped blades at higher prices, and people think they're good quality blades when they're not. So you really need to understand the details of table saw blades and what makes a good one. And I'm going to put a link up there. You'll be able to go and have a look at one of the videos that I've made on how to recognize good quality blades. But that's the next step in doing quality, enjoyable woodworking. And that leaves us with number 5. And number 5 might be the most important of all of these processes that I'm talking about. And that is, and I think Norm Abram said it best, that is to know and understand all of the aspects of your tools and your processes that you're working on. And of course, eyewear, respirator or masks, and hearing are fundamental to that, but knowing and understanding all the rest of it to keep yourself safe and uninjured, and that is just so important. And I've talked about these in so many videos in the past, but while we're here at the table saw, I want to touch on one thing here. If you've been following my channel, you'll know that 15 years ago, I was one of the messengers who said, always set your blade at less than a half tooth above the material that you're cutting. A half tooth is the highest you want to go. And the reason for that, 2 reasons. It's so much safer for the woodworker, but it also gives you a better cut. And you know what? A lot of people laughed at me at that time, but now if you look at people on YouTube who know what they're doing, experienced woodworkers, you'll find that they have their blades just barely above the material because they understand the value of that safety and that quality of cut. And around the same time, I showed off again. I didn't invent this. This is just a push stick, and because it holds the wood flat like this, it's probably the safest way of pushing wood through any table saw. And I even made a little magnetic base for it so you could put it right on your table saw. At that same time, I said how much I hated these chicken's foot design push sticks. And the reason for that, when you're pushing through, because the blade comes up at the back, it can flip the wood, the small pieces of wood, it can flip them up, throw them back at the woodworker. So I've always hated these for push sticks on a table saw. In fact, I see some people using 2 of them. I call that double trouble. But look, the nice people at MagSwitch have come up with an idea. Check this out. This is their latest magnetic base. And it's the same, basically the same design as what I was suggesting years ago. And you hold it down, hold your wood down like that. But look, it's got a replaceable base on here. So if it gets cut, you can replace that easy. It's colorful, it's easy to see on your table saw, and it even has a magnetic base. So when you're not using it, you can easily grab it, and when you're finished, you can put it back. And I'll put links to that in the description box and in the article on Woodwork Web. You'll be able to go and check that out. I thought that was a really ideal thing for safety. Well, that concludes my video for today. Those 5 things that I picked, when I examined them closely to see if there was any others, everything in woodworking flows out of these 5 items. It's like building a house. When you have a solid foundation, everything on top builds and comes up square and even. And the same thing is with these 5 items. When you do all of these 5 items right, it affects the quality and how much time you spend working on your woodworking, and it even helps mentally in being able to improve what it is that you're doing so that you get more enjoyment and more pleasure out of doing woodworking. I'm Colin Canet for Woodwork Web. Thanks for watching.